The Giant's Wife, an Irish legend. In the days when giants lived in the north of Ireland, Finn McCool was the biggest, strongest, most handsome of them all, or so he thought. With his bare hands, Finn could rip a pine tree out of the ground. He could leap across a river in one bound. He could split a boulder in half with one swish of his axe. Surely he was the greatest giant who ever lived. Now Finn had heard that there were clans of giants living in Scotland who had competitions throwing tree trunks and carrying boulders. That sounded to him like great fun, so Finn decided to build a road right across the sea, so he could walk across to see these Scottish giants without getting his feet wet. Pulling on his big black work boots, he kissed his wife Una goodbye and promised, "I'll be back in about a week, 10 days tops." Then he strode off over the hills to the coast. Finn began to work hard, ripping rocks from the mountains and throwing them into the sea until they piled up above the water and began to form a road. He was only 3 days into the job when a friend of his arrived at the seashore. "Finn, I don't mean to worry you, to be sure," his friend said, "but there's gossip about a strange giant who's on his way to your house to flatten you. Some say that he's leaped across the sea from Scotland without needing a boat or a bridge. People say that he keeps a thunderbolt in his pocket. I've heard too that he has a magic little finger with as much strength in it as 10 men put together." Cried Finn. "I don't believe a word of it." But secretly, he began to feel a little uneasy. One thing's for sure," his friend continued. "The stranger knows that everyone thinks you're the biggest, strongest, most handsome giant in all of Ireland, and he doesn't like it one little bit. He's made up his mind to find you and mince you into pieces." "We'll see about that," bellowed Finn. "I'm going home right now to sit and wait for this pipsqueak of a giant. If he dares to show his face at my front door, I'll stamp on him and squash him like an ant." Although Finn sounded brave, he was really worried. The minute Finn arrived home, he sat down glumly at the kitchen table and told Una all about the stories of the strange giant. If it's true, he'll beat me to mashed potatoes," Finn moaned. "You men are always boasting about your muscles, but sometimes you should use your brains instead," Una laughed. "Now, do as I say and leave everything else to me." Una quickly found 9 round, flat stones and put them on a plate with a round, flat oat cake, which she cleverly marked with a thumbprint so she could see which one it was. Meanwhile, Finn built an enormous baby's cradle and put it by the fireside, just as Una had told him. Just then, Finn and Una felt the ground begin to shake underneath them, and a dark shadow fell across the house. It's him! He's here!" panicked Finn, running to and fro. "Oh, what shall I do?" "Calm down," urged Una, handing her husband a bonnet and a nightdress. "Put these on and climb into the cradle." Finn was far too scared to argue, and soon he was dressed up like a baby and lying cuddled up in the crib. Una shoved a huge bottle of milk into his mouth and went to answer the door. "Where is Finn McCool?" roared the massive giant. He was the biggest giant Una had ever seen, and the ugliest. "When I find him, I'm going to rip him to shreds," the giant bellowed. "I'm afraid you've missed my husband," Una smiled sweetly. "He's away at the coast, building a road across the sea to Scotland. He'll be finished by tea time. You can come and wait for him if you like." The massive giant growled something under his breath, but may or may not have been a thank you. Una beckoned him inside. "Well, you'd better come in and have something to eat. You'll need to get your strength up if you're going to fight Finn. I have to say, you look like a dwarf next to my husband." In the cradle, Finn's teeth began to chatter. What on earth was his wife annoying the giant like that for? "Have an oat cake," Una offered the stranger, putting one of the round, flat rocks on his plate. The greedy giant crammed it into his mouth and took a huge bite. "Ow!" he roared, spitting bits of broken teeth all over the table. "Oh dear, didn't you like it?" Una fussed. "They're the baby's favorite." She gave Finn the oat cake with a thumbprint. He ate it happily. The strange giant peered into the cradle. "That's Finn McCool's baby?" he asked, highly surprised. "He's a whopper of a lad, isn't he?" "Yes," sighed Una, tickling her husband under the chin, while Finn cooed and gurgled as best as he could. "He's got teeth already, you know. Here, put your finger into his mouth and feel. Go on." Slowly, nervously, the giant put his little finger inside Finn's mouth. Crunch! Finn bit down as hard as he possibly could, right through the bone. "Arg!" roared the giant. "If Finn McCool's baby is that strong, I'm not hanging around to find out what Finn McCool is like." And with that, he was out of the door and away before Finn could even leap out of the cradle. Finn McCool never finished his road across the sea. If you go to Ireland today, you can still see it poking out into the water, half finished. He wanted to rest with his beautiful, clever wife. So, that's what he did.